So you've laid the roads and planned the perfect infrastructure, but getting those empty blocks to look realistic and alive is where it all falls apart. You could plop every single building by hand, but the problem is that takes a lifetime, and it strips away the satisfaction of watching your city grow organically. We're returning to the harbour town to find the perfect middle ground. We'll be zoning and plopping where it makes sense, building out pedestrian areas, cultural landmarks and sprawling suburbs. And because I can't resist making things more complicated, we're tying it all together with a busy port and highway viaduct. Can we finally find harmony between two different play styles, or will our European dream town be a mismatched mess? Welcome back to Sunny Isle. In the last episode, we built this beautiful little residential peninsula. Now, while this is quite a pretty little space, I do think we need to remind ourselves that this town that we're building by the oil port isn't necessarily the most desirable place to live. So this is more than likely going to be the richer part of the neighborhood where people can kind of live away from all the industry and all the noise. But if we look at the city as it's coming together from above, we can start to plan out areas where we can put our commercial and residential and some new industry. This little triangle space here between the elevated viaduct and the beach, this will be our main commercial zone. This will be the epicenter of the town where people can come, do a little bit of shopping, maybe catch the train and head somewhere else. Down by the train station, I do want to add a few more transport options, bring in a bus terminal, and then on the other side of the tracks, we can fill this out with a little bit of industry, maybe some warehouses. On this field at the top here, I think this is a really good opportunity to expand with some low residential neighborhoods. And we can imagine this was maybe an expansion that came later on in the town's development. And I think today I'll primarily be doing a lot of vanilla plopping, which is basically just placing down signature buildings. We've unlocked so many new buildings and we've downloaded buildings from the PDX mod store. I'd love to see them in this space. And then if we've got the opportunity to, I do want to take advantage of some zoning. I know the zoning grid can be a little bit difficult to work with sometimes, but I think it's a really good way of expanding your city and allowing a little bit of randomization without having to think about how every single building should look. And then if we've got some awkward parcels of land and we need to do some modded plopping, I'll be more than happy to go into Find It and find a building that will fit the space. Okay, so the first little project that I want to work on is this viaduct. We built this over the top of Rosewood Street so that people weren't getting caught up in local traffic as they were traveling through the area. Now, Rosewood Street was originally built quite wide because I'd imagined it would become a main road through the area and we might need to add more lanes. But now that's not necessary. I think we could use the space that this road uses up to add a little bit more parking and convert this into a parking space. It's not the most desirable area in the neighborhood, so we may as well take advantage of that and use it for a purpose that local people will find useful. Okay, so if we were to go ahead and grab the 2-lane perpendicular parking road and we use the upgrade or replace tool and we go in and upgrade this, we do have the issue of these pillars causing the parking to disappear and create extra wide sidewalks, and we don't have any space for parking vehicles. So we need to revert that back to what it was before. We'll grab the pedestrian path and we basically just need to slice these segments around the pillars so that the road below the pillars isn't going to be upgraded when we add the parking road, and then we'll simply drag that all the way through here. And I think that should do it. Okay, so it looks good. However, if we were to remove these footpaths, you can see that we lose the parking. So what we need to do is we need to make the roads that are underneath the pillars and the parking roads slightly different from each other. So we can just simply go into road surfaces, grab the wide sidewalk, and then we'll just upgrade these segments below the pillars So when we remove the footpaths, we'll retain the wider sidewalks. And there we have it, a beautiful parking space underneath the highway viaduct. And over time, I imagine this will be quite a popular space to park your car, especially since you're so close to the beach. I'm half imagining this to be a little bit of a tourist destination. I know we've got a lot of industry in the area, but the area around the beach is still quite a pretty place to come visit, in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and we'll upgrade the rest of this road through the area with a similar technique. Okay, so the entire viaduct has been upgraded now, and we've got one of these reach stackers coming through here. That's about the third one I've seen today. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good use of space. It's a low or slow traffic road, so it does encourage people to use the viaduct above to completely bypass the town. And it also provides a space for residents or visitors to park their car. And I imagine these aren't going to be the most popular pedestrian areas, since I do want to focus a lot of the commercial properties along the front near this beach here, and then along this road taking you up to the train station. So if we've got cars in other spaces, I think that's a pretty good use of space. We did have some more unique areas, so I didn't play around with the paths too much with this one. I just upgraded the road, and we do have a little bit of parking at the end here. I guess it's not the safest on this corner, but it's those small little weird intricate details that kind of make an area feel a little bit more unique. Alright, so we've got quite a bit of parking through here. However, I do want to add a parking structure, and that will replace Hamilton Street that we've got running along the train track here. And I like the look of the city bus station. This is a terminal bus station that has an option to upgrade it with additional parking levels. I'm going to plop that here. And then I've got the access road along the front so that we are not unloading onto any of these main collector roads. So we just need to connect this up. We're going to bring that road back across here, connect it up to where we disconnected it before, and then I'm going to use the one-way, one-lane road and just create a little loop around to provide a bit of exclusive access for buses heading into this terminal. Okay, so if we take a closer look at the Brookside Street bus terminal, we get the option to add a taxi stand, which can be added to the front here. I don't think we'll need that here. I think I'm going to add some taxis onto the road out the front. But as you can see, we can also upgrade it to have extra parking levels. So we'll go ahead and add that onto here. Out the front here, let's have a closer look at Brookside Street. It doesn't quite extend all the way up to the parking garage. I'm just going to use Move It so that we can extend this road out just a little bit, having it come right up to the top road here. And then that just provides a bit more space for vehicles turning into the car park and bus terminal. Now with that road in place, I'm going to go into our transportation menu. I'm going to scroll down and find the EU taxi shelter, and I'm going to add a taxi stand on this side of the road. With the taxi stand in place, I'm going to go and remove all the street side parking. Okay, with the bus terminal in place, we can now connect it up with some of the regional points of interest. So the first area I'd like to connect to is South Bay. This is a neighbourhood on the southern part of the main city. We do have a bus line that terminates at the beach here. It goes through South Bay, through Leaside, and over Phoenix Bridge and into the main bus terminal. However, I don't think it's worth dragging that line all the way to the new town, because it does follow a similar path to our train line, which could take away some potential commuters if we were to follow the same route. So instead, I think I'm going to create a new bus line that follows the coast, going along each of the beaches all the way up to Mont Clementine, And we can terminate it here where we've got the tram terminal just on the edge of Sapphire Bay. And for this, I think we could make use of many of the existing bus stops through here, but we will need to add a few new ones. I think primarily at the front of the Civic Quarter here, and we'll have to add an extra stop opposite the South Bay Pier, and then that takes you all the way down to the Newtown bus terminal. Now I am going to go through and clean up those bus stops because I'm sure they weren't placed the most elegantly, but before we do that, we can draw our bus line. I'm going to change the colour to something a little bit different. We've been using pastel colours through this city, so we'll keep it in a similar vein, and then we'll just select one of these stops at the bus terminal. We'll bring it down to South Bay. We'll have it stop there, outside the crematorium, outside the town hall, and then we'll have it stop on this little roundabout near the tram terminus, and then we'll send it all the way back. Okay, so the bus line is in and we can already start to see vehicles moving up and down the line. I did end up leaving the Colossal Order branded buses as the default vehicle for the line, so I did go ahead and change that, so quite a lot of these buses are now heading back to the depot. Let's go in and rename this line. It's currently called Bus Line 10, so it starts at Mont Clementine and then it goes to South Bay, and then it goes to the new town. And in fact, we haven't got a new name for this town yet. And if you've got any suggestions for this space that we've been working on over the past few episodes, we've already received a couple of good suggestions, but I would love to hear some more. So please leave a comment down below if you've got a name for this new town. Do bear in mind, it's not the most desirable place, and once upon a time, it was where our landfill was based. But now it's been redeveloped, it's got oil, it's got fishing, and by the end of this episode, it should be quite a large and thriving community on this side of the island. For now, I'll just simply call this Oil Town, just in case I forget to come back to this in the near future. But as I said, please do leave those name suggestions down below. I really appreciate it. You guys always come up with some great backstories. Now, if we have a quick look at the bus terminal down here, we can see it's already super busy. We've got lots of vehicles coming in and using it. But if we have a really close look at the bus stop down here, look at all these people waiting for the bus. This is fantastic. It really shows that we were underserving a vital corridor of transport in the city, and it makes sense to build something like this along the coast where you have a natural path of development. And if we take a closer look at South Bay, the community along the beach that we're running through towards Mont Clementine, we've got an extra set of bus stops up near this elementary school, and I've added an extra stop on the opposite side here near this basketball court. And I've just noticed that we did end up using a very similar color to the buses coming through here. So let's go ahead and change that bus line to something just a little bit different so that we can tell the difference between existing bus lines and our new bus line. So we're now using a bluish color for the one that runs along the coast, which is quite nice because it reflects the color of the water. Most people will just be traveling through this area, and we've got a little stop up here down by the crematorium, and that has a nice access route using a footpath down to one of our larger high schools, and then that takes you down to our civic quarter. We've got a nice stop on the beachfront here, and that helps connect people up into the Mont Clementine tram terminus that we've got. And again, this is super busy. We've got a lot of people in this area. It doesn't surprise me that this is one of the most popular spaces because you can pretty much get anywhere on the island by transferring to one of these lines, whether it's bus or tram. And it's pretty exciting to see how busy this space is. We've got a lot of people moving through this area. We've got a couple of cyclists going along the beach. But we may need to come back to this area sometime in the future and optimize it. I would love to get some metro into the city, especially in some of these older parts of the city where it's a little bit more difficult to build up that infrastructure, but we'll save that for another day. Okay, while we wait for the bus service to shake itself out, let's have a look at some of the other services that we want to put through this area. First, let's put some schools down. I really like the look of this German elementary school. I know it kind of looks like it doesn't fit this style of build, but Sunny Isle is an eclectic theme of different styles of architecture, similar to what you find in the UK, to be honest. Like, there's no kind of set theme. Over the course of a couple of hundred years, there are so many different types of buildings and styles. You kind of expect to see a little bit of everything all over town. And I quite like the look of the way this building faces out at an angle on the corner. So I think if we place it here, it looks out over the beach. And it's almost like it was intentionally built this way so that the principal or the head teacher may have an office at the top here, and they can look out over the coast, and it's a little bit more of a prettier point of view. Opposite that, we can also place the German high school. This one could sit over the other side, and I think we'll run a road between them. And that road could extend out into the suburb that we're going to build on this little field space here. But let's go ahead and move this because it is a little bit wonky. And I think that still has a pretty good view of the beach. Yeah, I quite like that. Okay, yeah, I wanted to put those in the right spot because I do want to go ahead and add the upgrades to these buildings. So the extension wing will add extra 500 capacity. We'll add the gym extension so that kids have got somewhere to exercise. And then with the high school, similarly, we're going to put on the extension wing for more student capacity, and the gym so that we have places for the students to practice their sports. And when you add all those extensions together, it starts to create quite an interesting looking estate. Although you do need to cross this busy road that takes you down to the port. So why don't we go ahead and take advantage of some of the new creator pack stairways by Bad Peanut. So this small pedestrian overpass would do us nicely. Now let's make sure we don't block the view of the school. And we'll place it down here so that people don't have to walk too far. And we'll put that there. And let's turn off the crossing on this side of the road. We'll leave it over here because I don't know how many people are going to be walking on that side of the road. They may find it a little bit more comfortable to go up and over, but I also don't want to restrict access for people that can't use the stairs, so we have option on this side of the road. Alright, so the town is in a pretty good spot for elementary and high school. We won't bother with colleges or universities because I think we do have capacity through the city. Yeah, we've got lots of capacity for colleges and universities elsewhere. People can travel if they need to. Let's go ahead and place down a clinic, and I think this will fit quite nicely here near the train track. We also have no fire coverage out here. I'm going to place this out further into the industrial area, and we'll also include a police station. And then near the multi-story car park, just over the train tracks, we'll have the post office. This is an industrial looking asset, but I know it's used by residents as well. It's still easy to walk to, even though it's slightly further afield. Okay, with those assets in place, we're starting to see the town coming together quite nicely. And I have gone ahead and added on the specialized treatment wing. That kind of fills out the lot quite nicely at the back. And this building's got some really lovely textures through here. This nice tiled wall with these open walkways. Probably not the nicest place to stand since you'll have all the traffic of the road next to you. And then over Gruny's recycling center, which replaces the landfill that we got rid of a couple of episodes ago, we got the Chinese fire station. This is quite a nice and modest sized asset. Again, you can pick this up with the China pack on PDX Mod Store. It's got some nice colors through here. We're using the Japanese police station. It does come with quite a lot of concrete, but there's probably some invisible paths. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, look, you've got all these roads leading into the extra garage extension. And the last asset we placed down is this beautiful old post office, which is a custom asset available on the PDX Mod Store. This was created by Detective_93. It's really, really nice. You've got this lovely little loading area at the back here with all these taxi vans waiting. And then over here, this is the public space where we got this nice marble wall with a side entrance for people to go in. All right, let's start working on the downtown space. So this is the area where we'll probably need to have a look at both zoning and plopping because we will have some awkward lots through here. If we open up our zoning tools, we can see we've got a few parcels that we could make. And to be honest, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be. But I do want to change these roads up a little bit. I think we could make this road through here a little bit more special, especially as it takes you all the way up to the bus station. So if we convert that into a wide pedestrian road, and then I think we need to replace this road. It's a little bit wonky for my liking. And then we'll just grab the end of that, and then we'll come in perpendicular there. There we go, that's quite nice. And we do have these alleys running through here, but I don't really think they're necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and replace these with pedestrian paths as well. So I'm looking at this asset I found on the PDX mod store. This is the Brum Church. This is a really nice looking asset, especially given that it's got a terracotta roof, which I feel suits the Sunny Isle aesthetic. So I think that might live really nicely here, and we're going to have to adjust some of the roads because this is quite a long asset. But I wonder whether we could just squeeze that alongside that road there. I think that would look quite interesting. So yes, Highland Street will have to go, and it still peaks in under there. And we'll have to fix up some of the terrain because this is currently a little bit lower than it should be. And if we set it to that height, yeah, I could see that working. We've got a little bit of pedestrian access at the side here. And if we bring that road down and down to Gardenia Street, that should create a really nice little courtyard area where we could maybe place a few market stalls. I'm just checking out the main city because it does appear we've got a serious issue with our commercial properties. Now, I tried to have a look to see if there's a pattern. It does appear that we do have many businesses selling pharmaceuticals, but it's not exclusive. So we do have one here that is selling vehicles, and it does appear to be affecting other trades as well, such as furniture. So I think it's probably down to the fact that our population is too small. So if we take a look at our city statistics and head down to citizens, and we have a look over the past 50 years, we can see that we did reach a peak of around about 80,000 people. And then if we just reduce that down to 10 years, you can see we've had a steady decline of people all the way up until the last 2 years, where we've slowly been increasing the population. And I think over time, there just hasn't been enough people in the city to stimulate the economy. So that's why we're going to continue building our population up today. I've also installed a mod called Change Company. So if we open one of these businesses up, we can see we've got a section here in the info panel that allows us to change what this business sells. So if we head into this panel, let's say we want this to be a food outlet, we'll change it to food. And then what we'll do is we'll click change this. We can see that a new business has moved in, now selling food. And we can also see that the notification for not enough customers has also disappeared too. So I'm going to go through a few of the businesses through the city. I'm going to change these randomly to other types of resources that it sells and see if that resolves the issue. Okay, so I've already started changing some of the businesses, and I was simply just scrolling through the options and picking a random asset for them to sell. However, I did notice there was an option to allow them to select a random resource. So selecting this building here, we go down to the Change Company info panel section, and then at the bottom here, there's an option to change it to random. So I'm going to use this and it will change it to something completely different. So I'm going to continue going through the city and selecting a random resource for them to sell. I'm also seeing a reoccurring pattern of the types of resources that are struggling. One is vehicles and the other is pharmaceuticals. So another feature of Change Company mod is you can change all the businesses that are selling a similar type of resource just by clicking this button on the right instead. So we'll go ahead and we'll click that, and that will change lots of different businesses, lots of different buildings around the city. And I'm going to do that with all the other types of resources as well. And I'm hoping this somehow rebalances the whole economy and the distribution of where these commercial properties are placed. And it also means I don't have to click on every individual business in the city. This is saving so much time. Okay, and that took me all of about 5 minutes to do after finding those shortcuts in the mod. Now, I'm not saying that this is a solution to the problem. We're simply redistributing the type of businesses that are in the city. It's not necessarily what the city requires. And I couldn't quite figure out how the mod calculated what type of businesses moved in when we used the random generator. But for now, I can see everything seems to be working well. But what we'll do is we'll check in at the end of the episode to see if any of these issues are continuing. As I said, the population is still pretty small and we've got quite large commercial areas, probably a little bit too much for a city of this size. Okay, and with that, we've got the start of a beautiful and detailed city centre. And I will admit, while I had every intention to take advantage of some zoning, when it came to the grid layout that I'd put down in previous episodes, I didn't really leave myself with an easy job. So for the most part, I did go ahead and just do some plopping. I'd say it's probably around about 90% plopped, with a mix of plop the growbles and some signature buildings. And I think as we move out, I do want to employ zoning a little bit more, and we'll have a look at that shortly. But let's have a quick look at some of the highlights. And I was a little bit unsure whether to create this town square, and I think it was the right decision, especially since it's quite a dense and not very desirable part of the map. To have a space like this for the community and for visitors to just hide away in the bay, on the coast, away from all the polluting chimneys, I think is absolutely fantastic. And we did play around with some of the invisible areas and paths. It isn't working perfectly. I can see there's a few people walking through the props, but for the most part, people are moving through the little pathways that we created. And I love the fact that I've turned off asset variation changer, because I was finding that all the props that I was placing down were always the same color. And then when I came to recolor them, I couldn't use the palette tool to be able to randomize the colors. So I'm quite happy to see that we were able to use those mods in a more efficient way without having to worry about which colors to use where. We can kind of just let the randomization do its magic. And I'm really pleased with this new surface that we put down. I think the other one before was maybe a little bit too rustic. Now, I absolutely adore these net lanes by Crypto Gamer, if I remember correctly. These just place over the top of the pedestrian roads. I think the vanilla pedestrian roads do look a little bit sad, a little bit dreary, and these just light up. And I think this is just such a simple little detailing technique without too much effort, and it adds so much to the build. And we've got that coming under here. I was contemplating adding a separate surface for the vehicles so that they know where to go, but for now I think this looks good. I like the look of it, and that takes you through to the train station. And the train station is getting quite a lot of use. We've got quite a bit of activity around here. And even though we do have quite an eclectic mix of architecture, we've got a little bit of Chinese down here. I think if you tweak some of the roof colors, and given that the theme of Sunny Isle is kind of an eccentric British colony, it kind of works, you know. I think we're getting away with it. And I really like the fact that down on this beach, we're seeing a lot of use. Absolutely brings so much joy to me seeing that people actually use this, and they're taking it all the way down to this little ferry stop, which in fact is getting quite a lot of use. I'm quite surprised, to be honest, because you could take the train into town, it'll be a little bit quicker, but maybe people want to take the scenic route. So yeah, pretty chuffed with the way this has turned out. Even down here where we had a really awkward lot behind the schools, I did this extra road just to add a bit more relief through here. And I did place down this cemetery because I wanted to use the small columbarium, which we've got down here near the church. And this is quite nice because you do sometimes see people come in and sitting on those benches, which is a nice little addition in my opinion. And this new town, which I said is not yet named, so please keep those suggestions coming in, has not been spared from high-rise development. We do have a couple of these larger blocks over here near the back of the city centre, but overall it's mostly low and medium density sized buildings. But I do want to add something down here. So we're down by the bus terminal and the multi-story car park, and we've got a little bit of space here. Now this little spot in between the roads, we can for sure put in one of these small pocket parks. I think that will fit really nicely in here. And if you're waiting for a bus or you're meeting with a friend, this will be a nice little spot to just hang out. Now on this little corner here, we've got a little bit of room for a decent sized building. I'd say at least 3 units wide. This asset from the PDX mod store, Continent number 1, looks to be around about the right fit in my opinion. I've had a closer look at this building, and I do think that this would be quite an expensive place to live. You've got air conditioning units up the side. We've got this beautiful plaza at the bottom with all this foliage and seating. And then we've got this really bright roof detail at the top, which I imagine is quite gaudy to look at, you know, if you're a local, but people that live there really think there's something. So I think this could be for those that, you know, want to spend a little bit extra money, have a penthouse over the water. And I think we should have a look at maybe adding a marina nearby so that some of these rich folk can take their boat out onto the water. Although it does look like we've got a little bit of ship traffic over here, so they'll have to fight with the congestion on the seaways. But I think that's quite a nice addition over there, and that kind of completes that little corner. And another little detail that I completely forgot to mention, which I'm sure you did see in the little speed build, is this beautiful little promenade. And again, this was such an easy thing to put together with some of Crypto Gamer's net lanes, just bringing so much detail to the surface, and then using the line tool and the recolor tool to create these beautiful little sheltered areas. And I'm using some of these modern benches, which I think came with the office pack. I can't remember which one, if it was that one or not. And then a little seating area over here to grab something refreshing. Over the tracks, I've pre-prepared a little area, and I've actually been making use of the road zone tools quite heavily through here. So we've got these collector roads. These are the wider streets that run around the edge of the estate, and then I've used alleyways as the local roads for the buildings to zone onto. And this little tool is fantastic because I can just turn off the zoning just by a simple click all the way along the collector road, and then that allows all the zoning to stick onto the local roads. And we can simply just grab our zoning tools, and we've only got one zone for industrial for now. I would love there to be a little bit more. And then we can just start going through here and painting simple shapes. We don't necessarily need to fill up every single space. I do like to have some spaces between the buildings, and then sometimes I do like them to be fairly cramped. And we can just build this up, go through the area, and we'll see what it looks like shortly. All right, looking at this first area, I would say I'm pretty pleased with the way this zoned in. As I said, I did leave a couple of gaps, and the reason why I like to do that is because in these industrial areas, they don't tend to have all their buildings butting up right next to each other. They'll have some parking, and they'll have some yards for storage. Yeah, we've got this 1x4 fenced one, which I think we could plop in there. And there's a 1x3 which we can put in there, and it just fills in those gaps really, really nicely. This area spawned in less desirable in my opinion. We've got some industries which I don't think are appropriate, and we've got this grain silo. I'm wondering whether if we remove these we could spawn something else. I don't mind having a little bit of oil, but I think being so close to downtown, it's not very realistic. Now, these warehouses I think look okay, and these small oil tanks are quite good. We may have some broken zoning here. It looks like we do. I think it might be connecting up to this road at the bottom here. So let's try out our zoning tool, and we just left click there, and we'll see that it's adjusted, and then we should be able to fill in this back lot with a building. On second thoughts though, do we want to bring maybe a little bit of office through here? Since we are right up against the train station, this will be a good place to source employees. And to be honest, they don't look that much different to the industrial assets that we had there before. Okay, so I'm going to go through the rest of this area and fill in those little gaps with those small filler buildings. And I think this area will start to look a lot better. Okay, with all the lots filled in with a little bit of tree decoration, I think this area is looking absolutely fantastic. We are facing some serious traffic issues through here though. I think a lot of the buildings that are zoned in are warehouse assets, so they're calling for deliveries, they're filling up. So I think this is just a temporary issue, and it's really bad. It's absolutely everywhere. It's absolute gridlock. Even over in this little area here, we can see everyone's battling to get through. We're on the main rural highway connecting up this area, and it's absolutely jam-packed. I'm going to sit here shortly. I'm going to fast forward time and we'll see if this will sort itself out. Okay, so I waited a long time and it still seems to be an issue, and it looks like it's February because I'm seeing hearts pop up. I still believe that this is a symptom of zoning a whole heap of industry. So we'll see how it fares over time as we move into the suburbs. Now we've got a nice flat area to work with. Let's turn on the topography tool. This whole little area here, I think, is suitable for suburbs. Now, we haven't purchased this tile up here yet, and I'm not sure if I do want the suburbs to extend all the way up here, because it's quite a long way from downtown. You would need to rely on your car quite a lot. But we do have a connection to the highway at the top here. This is our coal power plant in the Black Sands area, and we can actually see the edge of that neighborhood is right on the edge of that tile at the bottom here. So we might not want to extend our building beyond that point, and I don't think we can because I can see that there's a bulge in the land. But what we could do is we could bring in a local road so that we've got a bit more access for anyone that does live at the top end of this neighborhood. And for this neighborhood, I'm going to rely on zoning again. But instead of having a rigid grid like the industrial area, I think I do want to create something that looks a little bit more fluid and make use of much of the land through here as possible. Alright, so that's my idea of a kind of fluid, gritty layout. And I think with this, we don't need to worry too much about the spaces in between the buildings, since we are mostly going to be using either low density or row homes through here. And if we've got any of these little gaps in between, we can come in with the tree brush. And with the latest version of the game, you can really pack those trees in, so it's not that difficult to fill in those green spaces. Now, it's pretty interesting. I put these collector roads through here, not necessarily to serve the city, but to serve the community. It is acting as a bit of a relief, especially on our city's only entrance over here. And you can see that the traffic is starting to die down now. It's a little bit more manageable. It's moving, which is fantastic. So I don't really think we need to make any adjustments here just yet. We've got a little bit of a backup running along this back road here, but I think it's just the sim trying to figure out the pathfinding, which is the most optimized route. And I think eventually we'll get a lot more vehicles taking the viaduct over the town instead of going this back way. But only time will tell, so we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Okay, by this school, I want to add some sort of sports facility. And in my opinion, the easiest asset to place down is the soccer field, aka the football field. This will actually be the first football field that we place down that is a functional football field. We used this asset in the past when we created our custom cricket ground, but today I think we'll actually keep it as a football ground, and we'll place it in here. It does terraform the side of this hill a little bit, but I think with these stands at the back here, with this little hill, it kind of fits in really nicely. So we'll keep that in here. The one thing I do want to change though is this surface. It is a part of the school. It's going to see its fair share of wear and tear. Now for the rest of this neighborhood, as I said, it's just mostly going to be residential, and I've picked up a couple of custom zoning options. So we've got Gruny's French Residential Low. This comes in a variety of sizes, and we're using the extra details mod so we can actually see the lot sizes in the description here. This comes as a 2x3, 3x2, 3x3, 3x4, and a 4x3, and a 4x4. So if we were to just spread out some zoning like that, we should see a variety of buildings spawning in. Interestingly, only the 2x3s, so I'm not sure if we're doing something wrong there. Let's try zoning a larger area and see if we get anything different. Okay, so we've got a couple of 4 deep buildings there, which is okay. Okay, so I'm going to go through this area. I'm going to add a whole bunch more zoning, and I think these French assets are absolutely fantastic. Well done, Gruny. Another banging asset to add to your collection. I'm looking forward to what you release in the future. Fantastic stuff. Okay, so sometimes you do get a few empty spots through here, especially when you're zoning with a custom asset that only has limited sizes. But I'll come through and I'll use the picker tool and I'll find buildings that I think could fit into that space and then just fill them up. But if we've got spots that don't necessarily fit the existing buildings that we've got, we can always come through and add our own zoning. So maybe we could put a little bit of Japanese in there, mix it up a little bit. Maybe this person came through, knocked down whatever the old building was and decided to build something completely modern and completely different, and that does happen. And if Sunny Isle is anything like the UK, where we don't really have proper zoning laws, every building is subjected to a case-by-case analysis whether it'll fit into the area. So you do sometimes get a whole heap of mixed architectural types in places that you wouldn't expect it. And I'm so happy that we could zone these as well, so then we get to see the natural level up process as people become more affluent in the area. Okay, so that's all filled in now. I think all we need to do is add some foliage, maybe a couple of playgrounds, and I think we'll be in a good spot. And we'll go ahead and enhance this road with trees and grass as well. Hopefully reduce some of that traffic noise that's coming through here. And it just goes to show, when you've got the right assets, you just know it works. And I think this suburb looks absolutely fantastic. Now, I did go ahead and add the trees. I prefer to use the London plane on the sides of the roads because they're not too big and they allow traffic to kind of pass through without any clipping. But since you can add trees to roads and retain parking, I've kept all the parking through here because I know that the city that we're working on right now is kind of struggling with parking. But I can see that we've got plenty of spaces, so that tells me we're probably at around about the right capacity of car parking in this area. But if we see this fill up in the future, we'll know that we'll have to add some more capacity. Now, I think there's one asset that I'd like to add, and I think we've got the perfect spot over here. We've got this nice little green space, the entrance to our town. And what do you expect to see at the entrance of most cities? And that's a gas station. I really like the look of this one-stop station building. Now, this is a unique building. You do need to unlock it, but you do need to place down quite a lot of North American zoning, which we haven't been doing in this build. So I think it's okay if we plop this down ourselves by using Find It. Now, this space is slightly too small to fit this in, but I think if we wiggle around some of the roads, we'll get this to work. Now, I don't really do this often, but I think it's worth taking advantage of this one time. Okay, that's a pretty tight squeeze, and do we really want to have it unloading onto this main road here? Probably not, but I couldn't really figure out any other way to get it to fit. Now, this is going to cause issues because if anybody wants to make a right turn into this, they're going to have a difficult time. So I think we might put an extra roundabout at the top end here. Anybody that wants to make a U-turn can then use this roundabout at the top and they should be able to come back on themselves. And now that we've placed that in, I'm tempted to replace this road with a road with a median. So let's go get the 4-lane divided road, and I'm going to update this to be a little bit wider, and then that will prevent anybody or any vehicles from being able to cut across traffic. Now we just need to decorate this a little bit because we don't want any parking at the side of the road, so we'll put in an extra wide sidewalk on that side, and then we'll just throw on some grass on the other. Now, I don't expect we'll get any pedestrians down here, and I'm sure we could have used a zoned road, but I think this is a pretty good middle ground. We just need to make sure that it's connected up to water and sewage. It seems that we've lost our connection there. But I think that's pretty good. We could add a few extra bushes around the back. There we go. And I think that's in a pretty good spot. Now the color is a little bit garish, isn't it? Well, if you've got the Advanced Building Control mod, this is a new mod by StarQ. Come into the Asset Info view, and if we scroll down here, near the bottom, there's an area called Advanced Building Control. And you can simply use the Randomize button, and it will randomize the props, it will randomize the colors, and it looks like whoever created this asset was adamant that it needs to be green. It could also be affected by the brand, so we could also change the brand to something else. Yes, so it looks like that the colors on this asset are heavily influenced by the brand. So we could put in maybe Bumper Fuel, that's a nice yellow, or an Eno, which has the black details, or we got the Lopo, Pelican, Primeval. Oh, I like that one. I think we'll stick with that one. I like that. But yes, fantastic mod by StarQ. Absolutely game changer for detailing. Detailing in an easy way. I'm absolutely astonished with what we've been able to achieve today, and it's all thanks to the amazing mod and asset creators. Without them, we wouldn't be able to work a little bit more efficiently. We'd always be fighting the vanilla mechanic. Now, whether I prefer plopping or zoning, I would say I like the balance of both. I like to get stuck in the details and create interesting, highly custom areas, but at the same time, I love to expand and use the zoning tools to grow the city and to see it take over the landscape. Okay, fantastic. Now there's one thing that we need to have a look at, and we'll have to see if our fix for not enough customers worked, and it looks like it hasn't. So if you're following along and you're trying out that trick, let me know how you get on, but it looks like it's not the solution to our problems. If you've got any tips on how to fix not enough customers, whether it's simply growing your population or something else, please leave a comment down below. Now don't forget, we still need a name for this new town, so if you've got any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments and we'll come back to this area next time and give it a proper name. Now I just want to give a special thanks to absolutely everybody tuning in today. I've just come back from Creators Connect in Stockholm, invited by Paradox and Iceflake Studio. I had an absolute blast. I met some incredible creators. The dev team are lovely. So again, I really appreciate you being patient with me. I'm not the quickest editor, I'm not the quickest builder, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this island can grow even more. And as always, take care and goodbye.